Hello you guys, my name is Aja and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to talk about a hen named Auntie Chicka. Okay, we named her Auntie Chicka and I'm going to use her story to talk about the power of a mother. Okay, so let's get into it. So when we came home one day, she was on our porch, and here in Hawaii, that's not strange for chickens and roosters and everything to just be cock-a-doodling and doing, everywhere. But she was on our porch, so I was like, what does she want with us? Have y'all been feeding her or something? And the kids was like, no, we haven't. So a few days later, she was just like how you are seeing her right now. And I was like, oh, she was looking for somewhere to lay eggs, okay? So she had basically tore up our entire plant to make her a nest, and she was just sitting there. And I was like, I wonder if eggs are underneath there. Have she laid them already? So we didn't know. She was just kind of sitting there, right? So a couple of days later, she was still sitting there. Like every day we would go outside and she'd be there all day, all night. And I was like, okay, yeah, she must have already laid the eggs. So I did a little bit of research, like I do. And, I said, how long will chickens, incubate their eggs? And the answer was 21 days. So it had only been about, a week to 2 weeks at this point. And she was still sitting there day and night, never moved. So one day she wasn't there. So all of the eggs were there. So we were able to count the eggs, and it was 12 of them. And I'm like, y'all, just leave her eggs alone. She probably went to eat something or whatever. I don't know. But that following day, she was back on those eggs. So as we are reaching about 21 days, I was like, okay. And this is only 21 days since the time that I noticed that she was sitting down on them. And I was like, okay, we should be having some babies, soon, okay? But they never hatched. I was like, okay, what is going on? So another week went by, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening? And then when one day, it was probably, it's well into over a month at this point. And the kids come running to my car. They're like, hey, look, she laid her eggs. I was like, oh my goodness. They were inside of here and I did not get any video. I'm so upset about that. So they were so little and cute, and they just was like, oh my God, look at them. But I noticed that there was still eggs that was on the other side, okay? So this is where I said, okay, this is a powerful moment and I want to share this, okay? So this mother hen, she moved her eggs to the other side, okay? And she sat on those eggs for an additional 3 weeks, you guys. And I did some more research, and I'm like, is this normal? And like if the eggs don't hatch or whatnot. And I read somewhere, I don't know how accurate it is, but I read somewhere that says that that a hen will, like if she gets sick or something like that, that might be a reason that she would abandon her babies. But long story short, she was, still trying to incubate them so that they can hatch. Now, oh man, this is a lot. Okay, so 6 or 7 chickens were already there, and she was still sitting on them, I guess keeping them warm at that point. So for the other eggs that had not hatched yet, she was like kind of taking turns, right? And when I came home from work, she was sitting on the eggs, and then her little babies was just sitting around, right? And I just looked at her and I said, wow, Miss Chicka, like, you are a wonderful mother. okay? And the thing is that when you have kids, they all develop at different phases, right? And when it's time for your kids to leave the nest, right? Sometimes they may not be ready, okay? And it's your job as their mother to still help mold them and still incubate them, okay? Using it in her terms. It's your job to do that. And that's exactly what she did to the bitter end, okay? Like, out of all 12, there was 5 eggs, I believe, that never hatched. So I don't know, too much about chickens and why this might have happened, but I just felt like it was a moment that it really needed to be shared, because I watched her care for her. I watched her care for her eggs, and she was patient with them. And she, animals, they're just so fascinating when it comes to how they parent their young and everything. And us as humans, we don't really see the connection, but we are connected in that way, because that's what we have to do. We have to find the strong in our children and the weak in our children. And unfortunately, it happens to everybody. And if you have a child that's 18 years old and they're not ready to leave the nest, don't make them. It's your job to be there for them and to say, hey, guide them and everything. And these are lessons that me and my husband are learning now, because we are at that age, our children are at that age right now where it's time to let them out of the nest. And it's hard to let them go, because we know that it's a cold world out there. And I want to mention that because I was having a conversation with my neighbors, and she told me that she saw roosters like killing the little chickens. And I'm like, oh my God, why would they do that? And the thing is, it's just in their nature to do this, and they're wild, they're just everywhere. And the mother chickens, sometimes they lose their lives protecting their babies, and I just feel so convicted to share this message, because sometimes in our culture, we don't see it that way. We're like, okay, you're 18, you're legal, right? You can legally make decisions for yourself, so you can legally get on, right? But the thing is that 18 is literally just an age. Everybody has their own, version of, all kids are not, the same, and they're not ready. And some kids are just like these chickens that hatched on time and they were ready to go. But some of these ones, they still needed that mother love and that mother tender touch and that nurture. Okay, so I was very fascinated by Miss Chicka, and I have not seen her or her chickens or her chicks since a few days after this, and I just want to say to all of the mothers out there, whether they're your biological children or not, cultivate your kids, okay? Pour into them, give them everything you got until you don't got nothing else to give, okay? Because at the end of the day, we all they got. All right? So this message here today is just how grateful I am to Miss Chicka. And I know that sounds weird, but I'm just grateful for her to show me, to give me a reminder of my job as a mother, and to say it's not over, okay? It's not over. Once they get to where they go, you still gotta get them to that finish line, okay? And I don't know, I just hope that her and her chickens, they're doing okay. Like I said, it's so many chickens running around. Like, I don't know that I would even recognize her. They all kind of look the same to me. There was nothing really distinctive about her exactly, but for whatever reason, she came to my house, to my front door, and I feel like it was to show me this message, right? So, y'all, if this message resonated with you, leave me a comment. Let me know how you feel, okay? Do you know anything about chickens and, you know, their motherhood and anything that I left out? Let me know. Well, that is it for now. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.